Hi, welcome to another tutorial in a nutshell. Ian, a basic film review. My name's Pat Dooley, and I'll be your instructor today on how to do a basic film review. This presentation is for my pupils, and it's a little bit choreographed to suit their level of and what we expect on a basic film review. There are bits and pieces about a film review traditionally that we would add, but I'm not going to do it in this film, so it's really basic. Now, let me go through the presentation. I'll be swapping and doing a little bit of drawing as well. So let's go and check this out. Get rid of this if I can. Right, so what's important in your film review? I want to see a plot. I want to see, when you do a film review, you've watched a movie and you're going to write an article or a paper about that movie. You're going to talk about what is the plot, what is the genre, who's in it, the cast, the setting, where is it set, are there themes involved in this? Potentially symbols, but we'll stick at themes. Is the music, the soundtrack, what is it? How did it feel? And ending with your personal opinion. So let's get into those a little bit deeper now. So the plot is a sequence of interconnected events. It's not just the story. It's more than a simple account of retelling the story. It reveals a cause and effect. What happened and why did those things happen? What are the relationships between things that happen? So it tells us basically what events lead to what events. And you summarize that. You don't just retell the story. A little bit more about that. What I'm going to do here is the Freytag pyramid, this is called, has this exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, denouement, tying up at the end. But I'm actually going to draw that a little bit differently. I'm going to swap over to another screen, potentially exit out of this. Go and look at this one. Okay, so I'm not sure if you see my video or not, or if you only see this screen. So think of it, hopefully this will work, as the story, the exposition starts off, and it starts off sort of like this, right? Let me get to a drawing. Maybe we won't use calligraphy, we'll just use a crown. Let's use a crown. So the exposition is just setting the scene, the characters, and that sort of starts like this, right? And then this rising action, something happens. There's a conflict, a chain of events, and it starts to move up like this. And as we get towards all the story, we're finding out that there's a climax, and that climax is often a particular point in the film. Now, it can have several climaxes, but I'm just going to give you the basic. There's a turning point. And when there's a turning point, it starts to sort of go down, and we call this the falling action. Sometimes people call it resolution. And then as we start to tie off, we go down here, and we call it the denouement, a French word for tying everything together. And this is in a timeline. Often it's in a timeline, and there are many models to look at how a plot is made up. But this is a simple, easy one, the Freytag's pyramid. So let's go back to the presentation. So don't worry too much about the names, the exposition, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, the denouement. Don't worry about that. It's a up, down, and around. Something happens where you notice, be aware of what's happening in the film. We're setting the scene, stuff's happening, and there's a turning point, and maybe there's another turning point, and then it starts to go down, and then it ties off. And sometimes it ties off a definitive ending, and sometimes the movie is leading into another story. The genre There are many different types of genres: comedies and thrillers and dramas, action, sci-fi, animated, musical, etc., etc., etc. You've got to tell the reader in your review what sort of genre this is. When we talk about cast, we're talking about actors, right? The main characters. Who are these actors? What were their roles? What was the most important qualities? What did you like about them? Important, did they change or develop? Did someone go from a good guy to a bad guy? Did someone go from an introvert to an extrovert? Did something happen with these characters? Talk about your favorite character. Was it the underdog? Was it the hero? Who were these characters? Was it an unknown one? Was it the bad guy? Who was your favorite? Give some examples. You have to give an example of characters when you're writing a review. It's not just a matter of putting down the names. Boom, 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 boom. Pick one, and what did he or she do? Or if it's an animal, what did it do in the film? Give a little bit of an example. Then remember that you need to also talk about the setting. And when you're talking about the setting, it's not just when or where. There could be a variety of different settings. It could be an abstract setting. It could be in the future, in the past. It could be sci-fi. It could be out in the countryside, in the city. It depends where you are. And we'd like to know roughly the time, the date, the epoch. Is it modern? Is it the 28th century? Is it 300 years ago? We need to know when the setting is for the film. The themes are important parts, and they're a little bit harder to judge exactly what a theme is. But I've just written down here, it's a universal idea, something that can be taken outside of a film, something that has a characteristics that's universal, like if you look over above here, there, you'll see I've put down a bunch of themes there. Power, nature's versus nurture. We've got man, we've got beauty, we've got love, we've got hatred, we've got religion, identity, we've got a quest, we've got pride and innocence, we've got isolation, death, we've got optimism. We've got lots of different themes over here. What themes are in the film? And maybe there's only one, but maybe they're central. Maybe there are several. The vibes. Music plays an important role, a very important role. The soundtrack plays an incredibly important role in your film. And if you want to test how important the soundtrack is, turn off the sound and watch the film with no sound and just read the text from the dialogue. How does it make you feel, this sound? Is it scary? Is it exciting? Is it melancholy? Is it action? What's happening with this sound? What did you think about it? So you add a little bit of information about that. And then we get to your opinion, your personal opinion. Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Would you recommend it? But why? I give it 5 out of 5 stars because. You've got to tell me why and because. So that's a simple review, a basic film review. And that's what you've got to do when you're doing your film review for me. It'll probably work for many other teachers. They may have some specifics that they may want to include, but this is what I want to see. And usually 1 page is enough. That means about 500 words, 3 to 5. Now, you need more than 300. You need about 500 words because you have to develop your idea. You're telling me about the film, the reader, and I just happen to be the reader. So, what we know not what we are, but know not what we may be. Shakespeare. So, thanks for your time.